So I'm live streaming. Okay. Looks like it might actually be working here. There we go. Okay. Steve Loomis walking that mile. Still working out the bugs as far as doing my live stream here, but it's 1:30 in the morning. Not a ton of people probably gonna be watching, so that's okay. But I really wanted to talk about this. ICE has really been in the news, continues to be in the news. Tragic shooting just 2 days ago now in Minneapolis. Split second decision by the ICE agent. A car was driven at him. He made the decision to shoot. He actually gets bumped, gets hit by the car uh, as he's shooting. Right as he's shooting, he doesn't get knocked down. He doesn't get dragged, but he gets hit. Um, and no telling what would have happened if that woman was not incapacitated at that time. There were other people in the street. There's a lot of things to consider here as far as the use of deadly force. Everybody sees a video, makes up their mind, basically makes up their mind based on which way they lean, right? If you're pro law enforcement, then almost every action by law enforcement is going to be justified. If you're not pro law enforcement, if in this case you're far leaning left, which is basically anti law enforcement, then everything that they do is going to be bad. And that's what I'm seeing is a great divide here. Most disappointedly are the leaders, the political leaders in Minnesota, Governor Tim Walz and Mayor Jacob Frey, saying that this wasn't justified. Even just a couple hours after it happened, Mayor Jacob Frey gets in front of the news cameras, in front of a press conference, and goes off. He swears a few times because I guess he felt like that's what he needed to do. That made him look like he was tough, like he was going to be strong, and he vilified that agent. He vilified police, law enforcement in general, and he vilified that agent. And he said unequivocally that it was not a justified shooting, that agent could not claim self-defense, that self-defense was bullshit. A claim of self-defense was bullshit. And he told ICE to get the F out of Minneapolis. So, that's where it stands. Now, from that description, from his description that day at that press conference, I didn't believe that he had seen any other angles of the video. He saw one video, and he came up to a conclusion. He told the world his conclusion, and now he's got to stick with that, right? I mean, he can't backpedal. He can't change course, especially being who he is, a far left mayor, an anti law enforcement mayor. He couldn't ever back down from that statement. Now he can change. Hey, I saw a new angle. Things are a little bit different than what I saw. Now that takes incredible courage, incredible strength to do something like that, where you say, "Hey, I came forward with something that I regret because I was wrong, and the narrative is different than what I thought it was, and I need to make it right." And lots of people can do that. Somebody like Mayor Frey will not be able to do that. He will not be able to do that because that's just who he is. That's the narrative that he needs to continue to push. And so he went on a show called Brian Tyler Cohen. The guy is he's got a very popular podcast here. Brian Tyler Cohen. Yep. So I didn't want to, and so I want to show you some clips from that about. So now it's 2 days later, and we've seen multiple angles, including one angle from up on like a porch. It's a little distance away, so it's zoomed in and it's a little bit grainy, but you can clearly see the agent is hit by the vehicle. Again, he doesn't go under the vehicle, he's not run over, and he's not dragged, but the vehicle like contacts him. There is obvious contact, enough so that he moves a little bit, noticeable on a video that has to be zoomed in and is grainy. And so there's that. I mean, the car was obviously driven at him. It hit him. You can't. Um, there's all sorts of things that you can speculate as far as why was he in front of the car? Why was he there? What did they say to this woman in the vehicle? From one video that I saw, they said, "Get the F out of the car." She had pulled over and was blocking the road, or that's what it appeared, was she was blocking the road and was there to interfere with ICE, the ICE agents trying to do their job. And so I saw a video of an officer get out, an agent get out and say, "Get the F out of the car." They approach, grabs the door handle of the driver's side, and tries to open the door. Must have been locked. At that point, the woman backs up a little bit and then pulls forward and drives at that agent. Hits him at the same time. He fires shots and ends up killing her. Now, in this video, he does about a 16-minute interview with Brian Tyler Cohen. And a little bit off topic here is that I don't think Jacob Frey is the kind of guy who would go on, he wouldn't go on Fox News. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he has been on Fox News, maybe for something more mundane. But like this, to have an interview done where it's like there's some facts, there is some information, there are some video angles that really contradict this strong stance, Mr. Frey, that you took initially about this not possibly being able to be self-defense. But I don't think he's that kind of guy. Like, I don't think that he could. So Brian Tyler Cohen is clearly very, very left-leaning. The only few other things that I've seen, I don't choose to watch him because he is so left-leaning. And I only watched this interview because I saw that Jacob Frey was on there. That's the only reason I watched. Or I would skip over his stuff, because as soon as I start hearing him talk about what he talks about, it's all left-leaning. It's all the left narrative that he's pushing. So he's not like a journalist as far as a news, like try and walk the tightrope, try and get both sides, that kind of stuff. He's very left-leaning. All his questions are very set up for a left-leaning answer. He answers them himself. But so I wanted to show you this clip because it's pretty interesting to hear him talk about this.
by the victim here, or even, as Trump said, dragged under the car. So can I have your reaction first and foremost to this response by administration officials?
look, I would totally understand it if they wanted to say, hang on, let's wait for an investigation to commence and for us to get all the facts in a fair and justifiable way. But what makes absolutely no sense to me is to look at a video, see clearly with your own eyes what is happening, and then try to create a different narrative entirely. I mean, they are trying to say that the ICE agent was acting in self defense and that the victim was a domestic terrorist. That could not be further from the truth. Clearly, when you're going through a 1, 2, 3, even 4 point turn, you're backing up and trying to get out of there. Leave is the primary goal, not hit somebody, not use force, not injure an agent or anybody else. The primary goal, in my mind, seemed to be getting out of there. And, you know, if you watch the video, that's what ultimately happens. She leaves and tragically and horrifically was killed in the process.
So there you go. So he talks about 1, 2, 3, 4 point turn is what he saw on the video. So that's what this woman, that's what he's in his mind is thinking that she did, was go back and forth like we would if we're stuck in a tight parking spot, and careful not to hit the car behind you, careful not to hit the car in front of you as you continue to adjust until you can get out of there. So that's what that struck me as that. And then he also says, in my mind, okay? In my mind, which is him putting himself in that spot, what he thinks happened, right? What was going through her mind? What was she planning on doing? What was she trying to do? What was she trying to accomplish? Why was she doing this? He doesn't actually know any of that. He never has. Nobody ever will. Really. Specifically what she was thinking in that moment about doing that. But now he has already set that up. Now he is the mayor of Minneapolis. He tells you later on 400,000, 450,000 people. He is responsible for for a narrative, to stand up for 450,000 people and to be the strong leader, and for him to come out again with his press conference that was just a embarrassment. It's really embarrassing. Not that he swears, who cares about him swearing, but about him taking that position. You know, strength would have been, hey, it looks bad. You know, it sucks. Somebody got shot. Absolutely. Like, it's a horrific scene. We need to wait until all the facts play out. And I remember that. I remember leaders, even in my time, you know, I'm mid 40s, but even as a kid, when we watched TV, when we watched the news, and something horrific like this happened, that's what the political leaders did. That's what they came out with, was we need to wait. We need to wait and learn all the facts. We need to wait for an investigation. We can't jump to conclusions. All we do now is jump to conclusions, right? The left has their side, anti-cop, in this case, anti-ICE. Obviously, anything that a police officer or an ICE agent does is going to be wrong. They're just waiting for it so that they can jump all over it and tell you how uneducated and how poorly trained and how bigoted, how racist you are when you're doing this job. Okay, so he says 4 point turn. 1, 2, 3, 4 point turn. Okay, well, I have one of the videos pulled up here on X. Okay, so this is one of the videos. Poor angle, terrible angle. But watch. So, obviously parked. One. Pulled forward. That's it. Backed up once, and then pulled forward. That's all there was. Backed up, pulled forward. Now, when you watch other angles, you can identify tires spinning on the ice. You can see at one angle, initially I didn't see the ice agent in the very front, so I didn't know where the shots were coming from, because you see in one angle a little bit more around 6, 7 o'clock of the vehicle. You see the agent walk up to the driver's side and pull on the door, and then she drives forward, and then shots are fired. And in between the agent up at the door and like the windshield, that space is there, you can see the agent who was right in front. And again, there's speculation. Why would he be there? Well, I can tell you why. They were telling her to get out of the car. I don't know what they were going to do, if they were going to try and arrest her. There's speculation as to what they were going to, what she was actually doing there, because there's additional information that her wife was one of the people videotaping, or at least one of the people out on the sidewalk back where these videos were taken. She was back there. She was not in the vehicle with her. So then why is she driving away without her wife? Why? She's trying to get out of there and just leave her wife on the sidewalk, and she's going? I don't know. And of course, there's the video where the wife is saying that it's all her fault that they were down there in the first place. Because from my understanding, the wife said that she wanted to go down there. She wanted to see the ice activity and be there to observe. And then they end up in the middle of it all. So that is one piece of Jacob Frey and I have another clip. It takes me just a second to pull this up. Here's kind of a propaganda angle, which I thought was really, again, very it's just interesting to watch these people work and what they're thinking. What they're thinking about here as far as this interview. So obviously a softball interview. Brian Tyler Cohen totally on Jacob Frey's side. They're both on the left. They're both anti-ICE. This was a tragic event. ICE is a murderer. That's absolutely what they think. They go in and talk about the FBI apparently took over the investigation and said they don't want local law enforcement, state even investigating. That was their decision. So people are thinking that the FBI is just going to cover it up. Of course, if you're on the left, that's what you think. You might think that they think that Jacob Frey and Governor Walz can't be trusted. They will have their fingers in everything, which is what I would think. I get that it looks like the FBI, the feds are taking it over. They're investigating themselves. I get that perspective. Absolutely, I get that perspective. So as far as doing an independent review of this, I'm not sure how they're going to work that out. But when they talk about that, when Jacob Frey and Brian Tyler Cohen talk about that, they say, well, if nothing happens on the federal level, what can you do on the state? And Jacob Frey says, yeah, there's some things we can maybe sue and do some things. I don't want to say anything much about it. And some point in this, Jacob Frey is like, it's justice. We're just looking for justice. And he does actually in that moment say, justice doesn't mean charges or a conviction or whatever. Justice just means answers, information. Like come to a valid conclusion. He says that in a fleeting moment because then they say, well, if he doesn't get charges, which he won't get charges on the federal level, what charges will you be able to bring on the state level? Like, not will you review it, but like, when are you going to get to be able to charge this guy? That's absolutely what they said. But here, propaganda, as far as I am concerned, media literacy, propaganda, watch stuff and pick it apart like this. Be skeptical. So why is he saying what he is saying? And is this truthful? What Mayor Fry is claiming here.
In Minneapolis or even around the country who may be of and he basically came out and said, like, I'm pretty I don't know if he was in his 20s, clips that had been circulated.
Call Minneapolis home, is with them.
There was a moment where, among all of the clips that had been circulating, that the news had spoken to.
Sorry, I chopped this up, and so that was it's starting now.
One, I don't know if he was in his 20s, maybe, and he basically came out and said, like, I'm pretty right wing. This isn't the way to do this. Have you heard from folks in Minneapolis or even around the country who may be of that political persuasion, who've had, not the same response that Trump and Vance and Kristi Noem have had to this?
Countless, and that gives me a whole lot of hope. Because this is a moment where we got to love our country more than our ideology. This is a moment when we've got to understand that the foundation that is our Constitution is being violated. And whether you're a Democrat or you're a Republican, you need to stand up right now for the endurance of our republic. And here's the thing. You can't just come into our city and pluck somebody off the street, discriminating only on the basis of.
Okay, so he goes into saying, like, what ICE does isn't legal. It's unconstitutional. Plucking somebody, i.e. arresting them on a warrant, is unconstitutional. But did you catch that? So Tyler, what is his name? Brian Tyler Cohen asks, hey, I saw this video of like a right-leaning guy who identified as right-leaning said, hey, this situation is effed up. Like, this isn't supposed to be how it is, right? Softball question. Because the question for Jacob Fry is, have you heard from people who are right-leaning who said the same thing? And you can even, if you look back at the video, you can even, Jacob Fry is listening to the question, whether they've gone over these questions before, and his eyes light up. He's like, I get what you're getting at here. Here, this is my softball for saying, yes, I've heard from many, many people on the right that say that this is not appropriate. And he then gets to go on and say, this is bigger than ideology. Have you ever heard somebody on the left say the right is correct? And this situation right now is bigger than my left ideology? Of course not. Their ideology is everything. Their delusional, mental illness driven ideology is all that they have. That's all what they identify as. Yeah, identify as. And so he uses that opportunity to say, well, this is bigger than Democrat or Republican, because the only right answer in his mind is obviously you have to say that this ICE agent was wrong. This was murder. ICE are terrible. ICE needs to get out, get the F out, according to him, of Minneapolis. And there you go. But they're like a perfect propaganda little tidbit that Tyler set him, Brian Tyler Cohen set him up for, was that. So there you go. So and then at the end of his interview, he says, Brian Tyler Cohen asks Mayor Fry, so, you said some things in your press conference, used the F word or whatever, and there was some, um, you know, fake outrage on the right when you said this stuff. And he makes some joke about, yeah, I'm sorry I offended their princess ears, with my language. But he says he stood by everything that he said in that press conference, which is so for me, if you link back or think back or listen back, that the claim of self-defense is bullshit and is totally bullshit. There's no way around that. It is bullshit. That ICE needs to get the F out. Now, when he says these things in his princess ears, people aren't outraged because you use the F word. People are outraged because you are disparaging law enforcement with every breath and every fiber of your being, and have been forever, as far as I know. So it's that these guys are out here working. ICE agents are working in pretty horrendous conditions. Everywhere they go, they know that they're going to get followed. They know that people are going to have those whistles that people in the state government have pushed and said, hey, bring these whistles around, and if you see ICE, blow the whistle so that we all know to come and harass them. So they're dealing with that every time they just try and go and arrest somebody. Their job, mainly these guys who are out there, their job is to go find these illegal aliens that have arrest warrants, right? Detainer warrants through the feds, through the federal courts, and go and arrest them. That's all they're supposed to do. It's like a pretty simple as far as like what tasks you need to do, or just go arrest this guy and bring them in and then do it again. Now, it's complicated getting this stuff done in normal circumstances. It's really terrible when you have people harassing you and you have the politicians in the area that you're working against you. And it would be one thing if working against you, like I'm a salesman and they're stopping me from making as many sales. And yeah, I mean, money's money. So I can't make as much money, and that is annoying. It's irritating. It's frustrating. But in this case, we're talking about people constantly, their lives are constantly in danger from getting assaulted, from getting hit by cars. I mean, many officers have been hit by cars, have been run over, intentionally rammed. Their cars rammed, them outside rammed. And that was this case. This officer got hit by this car. He didn't get hit and run over, but you can't, there's no way that you can say, well, because the car didn't fully impact him and run him over, then therefore he's not justified. The car is coming at him. That is deadly force. And it does even hit him. So like he was in the line of fire because he actually got hit. And that's what ICE agents are dealing with day in and day out. They don't really have, when they're out working, they don't really have quiet days. They have people harassing them all the time. Besides whatever dangers lie when in the people that they're trying to arrest. Some of them probably comply, and many of them fight and obstruct. And so you have that, but then you have the public all around them blowing these whistles. Even in that shooting, if you watch a full video of the shooting where it's just the aftermath, these people are just standing there blowing those whistles while they're trying to figure out, can she be saved? Can we do CPR on this person? I think she was hit so horrifically that the damage was so bad that there was there was no chance of saving her. That's what I spec. That's my own speculation, but they didn't do a whole lot as far as they did check on her, and they didn't do a whole lot. So that's my guess is that it was pretty devastating. The impact was pretty immediate, and so. But even if, without knowing that, if you thought that they were trying to get medical attention up there, and get an ambulance up there, get that all coordinated. All these people, these stupid people, they're all blowing their whistles. They're just standing there blowing their whistles, just to annoy, just to harass, just to irritate. And even in this case where they're so devastated that this woman got shot, they're not so devastated that they could stop blowing their whistles and let medics get up there and let them coordinate getting up there and maybe get out of the way and let them try and facilitate getting medics up there. No, they can't. They got to just stand there and blow their whistle, which lets you, gives you a glimpse as to what they're really doing there, why they're really there. So, the next bit I wanted to show you was more uplifting, at least in my mind. Some So if you're on X, you know that if you click on a video, and you play it all the way through, they're usually short, a lot of them are less than a minute long. But if you click on a video and then you go in, and I'm laughing because I'm seeing all these. I got to go to the first one here. And then if you just let it play all the way to the end, then it'll just scroll down and like you'll just get another video and another video, and I'm guessing it'll just go on maybe forever. I'm not sure. And they, the videos typically are one after another about the same topic that you watched the first video. Makes sense to keep you engaged, right? So, these are great. I watched one video, and then this is the string of videos, and I'm just gonna play them all for you because I think they're amazing. It's absolutely where I'm at as far as this whole thing, what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling. But here's a string of videos that was just back to back to back to back in my feed.
To go into who was in the right, who was in the wrong with that Minnesota lady that lost their life. I'm not gonna argue with y'all tonight, but I do know one thing. Y'all don't care about y'all kids enough like I care about mine. I'm not putting my life on the line for no stranger. I got somebody depending on me. My family's depending on me to come home every day. I'm not putting my life on the line for no strangers, yet alone people that's not even from here. If somebody told me ICE is coming to my city, which has already happened, I'm staying out the way. What do I look like going in the streets trying to protect people that's not even from here? Or whatever the situation is. They could be from here. I'm still not protecting a stranger in general. I got people depending on me. Don't forget that. So in this situation, they say ICE is coming to your city in Minneapolis to figure out what's going on with the Somali fraud. Thank you. Why in the world would I need to hit the streets and stop that? I don't know. I just know it don't seem like y'all care about y'all kids enough. I don't need my child to be fatherless. And I definitely don't need him to understand that he lost his father because his father was out there defending Somalis.
Everybody want to talk about whether or not the ICE agent should have shot the lady. I'm trying to figure out why she was there in the first place. You got a son, you got a family. You out here defending Pablo and Julio like they give a damn about you. Go home and protect your son. Can't do that now, it's too late. Worried about the wrong shit. And this is the problem. When you start dating people, you need to find out what their politics are. What side of the fence are they on? Because I'm starting to realize all the crazies are a bunch of liberals. They're the crazy ones. What woman of yours is going to be out on the front lines battling for fucking Carlos? Carlos is in here illegally. He need to go back to his country. Worried about the wrong shit. Got yourself killed. Good job.
guess what? I saw the video with the ICE agents taking the life of this young lady in the vehicle. And I have to tell you, I looked at multiple videos of the same thing, and I'm like, what am I seeing here? What am I seeing here? Who's in the wrong? Who's in the wrong? And I got to looking at it some more and looking at it some more. The ICE agents told her to get out the vehicle. She decided to smash the gas. The ICE agent defended himself. But that's not what liberals are seeing right now. The radical leftist lunatic liberals, they're seeing an innocent woman that's out there trying to disrupt ICE from doing their jobs, losing her life. Are you kidding me? When you go out and you try to disrupt the ICE agents from doing their jobs, expect to be detained. Expect something like this to happen. The best thing you can do is stay at home. Go to work. Heck, isn't The View on right now? You're missing an episode of that. Get out the way. The ICE agents wouldn't be here right now in these states, in these cities, had the Democrats not opened up the floodgates, allow all of these illegals to come into the country in the first place. And now you have the mayor and you have Tim Walz all saying that we don't want ICE there. We want ICE to go out. And they're even saying it around the country. They don't want ICE there. Well, we don't want the illegals here in America. Maybe you should have never brought them here in the first place. So with that said, I support ICE. I stand with ICE. And I don't care if you don't like it. You're going to have to get over it. You're going to have to get over it. I voted for this. This is exactly what I voted for.
Members of the Minnesota National Guard, this message is for you. Now, I'm a retired veteran of the United States military, and I know that I don't have to tell you, you don't have to follow illegal orders. But I'm going to give you an example of one today. If your governor calls you to duty and demands and orders that you block federal agents from doing their job in the state of Minnesota, that is obstructing justice. That is an illegal order, and you do not have to follow it. And there is case law behind that to actually back it up. Go look it up. Look at the civil rights movements and everything else that went into it. You don't have to follow that order if he comes out with it. Members of the
Now, niggas, I need you to pay attention. You see right now, they're not talking about y'all in the media. It's because nobody gives a fuck about you motherfuckers until you do something stupid. I'm just saying, y'all always worried and complain about white folks. White folks don't give a fuck about what you're doing until you do something stupid.
Okay, there's a little too much in there then. That's all he says. It's
a 6-year-old child no longer has their mother, but we also have to understand why that 6-year-old child no longer has their mother. And it's because her mother was a unintelligent, incompetent, reckless person. Simple. ICE has one duty. Okay, they are Immigration, Customs, and Enforcement. They are there to enforce immigration law. When there is a order of removal out for you, they are going to enforce that. If you block a roadway like this woman did, okay, and if you fail to exit the vehicle and put the vehicle in park, and you keep driving forward as an ICE agent is literally in front of you, and he doesn't know where the wheels are turning, you may run him over with your SUV and, squeeze him to death. Of course, he is in his right to protect his life and to save himself by neutralizing the threat. And you happen to be the threat. A 6-year-old child.
Isn't that crazy? Let's get a little wild here. Now here's somebody that you need to get to know. Walter Hudson, State Representative Walter Hudson from Minnesota. This man you need to absolutely get to know, start listening to what he's got to say. He's got a good head on his shoulders.
Tim Walz, these guys should be brought up on federal charges. There's no doubt, and not just them. We have Democrats across the nation, and particularly here in Minnesota, who have been explicitly inciting assaults on law enforcement. And I don't like you don't get to hide behind the fact that you politically disagree with the mission of a law enforcement agency and say, well, that totally justifies me sicking random people on them and supporting the organized crime of tracking them and calling people to come confront them. And this vehicle was obviously obstructing a federal law enforcement officer. They get out, they confront her. What else are they supposed to do? Just surrender, go home, get the F out, as Jacob Fry says? Absolute nonsense. And until there are real painful consequences, legal consequences for this type of incitement for public officials, we're going to continue to see it.
I want to just give everybody out there a real easy tip. If you obey commands of a police officer, you will have a 100% chance of survival. She had every opportunity to obey commands. She clearly tried to run that officer over. Let me play you Jacob Fry again, because he went on in his news conference. Cut 5, guys.
They are not here to cause safety in this city. What they are doing is not to provide safety in America. What they are doing is causing chaos and distrust. They're ripping families apart. They're sowing chaos on our streets. And in this case, quite literally killing people.
Representative Hudson, I would like to ask you, you're in Minnesota. Have ICE agents there broken any laws? I mean, I get the left may disagree with the idea of rounding up illegal aliens, but they're here illegally. I think any reasonable person would say, hey, you're still enforcing the rule of law. Have the ICE agents done anything illegal in your mind? Have you seen them do anything to get the comments from Jacob Fry that literally dehumanizes these ICE agents? I think people engage in violence against them.
Yeah, I've seen nothing to indicate that ICE is acting illegally. Quite the contrary, I see tons of folks incited by the rhetoric of elected officials in our state committing objective crimes. It is a federal crime to obstruct federal law enforcement. You can get on a high enough level, if you assault somebody and cause great bodily harm like this lady tried to do, that'll put you in prison for 20 years. That's a felony. And you have our elected officials, Jacob Fry and Governor Walz in our state, inciting that explicitly.
And one more, and this is a big one. In the press conference where Mayor Fry swore, the Chief O'Hara, the Minneapolis Police Department, got up and said a lot of the same things. He didn't swear, of course. Said a lot of the same things about, we've been concerned about this for weeks. We've been talking about it as far as, ICE having an incident, having a run-in with somebody. But they have been saying that you need to go out and confront ICE and protect your neighbors. They have been saying that. And so the police chief for Minneapolis said, hey, and by the way, federal agents don't tell us anything, so I never know anything about it, which is true, I'm sure. They don't have to tell you anything. They're their own agency. They can go conduct law enforcement business all by themselves. They don't need to get your permission. And if you were better at communicating and working with them, then they might tell you what's going on. They still might not. They don't have to. But if you're good to work with and you would back them up and help them keep them safe and not step back and put your hands in the pockets like you order your guys to do, then it would be a different story. Here is the chief. Now, I know Chicago's got tons of problems, including their own mayor, who is can he be worse than Walz? I don't know. But they're equally as bad. But here is a police chief like somebody you would want to work for. This guy is
Federal agents, ICE, HSI, are officers. They are agents of law enforcement. If you box them in with vehicles, it is reasonable for them to believe that they are being ambushed and that this could end in a deadly situation. And it's reasonable for them to use force based on those conditions. Do not box in any law enforcement officer. You are breaking the law when you do that. And you are putting yourself in danger. Following law enforcement agents around. The question is why? What do you plan on doing? It's also reasonable for them to believe that you're eventually going to do harm to them. If you ram any vehicle, especially that one that contains law enforcement agents, and that's any law enforcement, local, state, federal, county, and you do this intentionally, this is considered deadly force. Deadly force is anything that can cause great bodily harm or death. When you plow into a vehicle that contains law enforcement agents, you're using deadly force.
There you go. There's a chief. I guess his title is superintendent of the Chicago Police Department. Telling it like it is. Telling people, putting people on notice. That's deadly force. If you follow us around, we think that you're going to do us harm. Because the track record is you eventually do us harm. You do something. You obstruct. We always have to watch our backs because you're just following us around. So it makes sense for these guys to be on edge and expect that they're going to be assaulted. And if you ram this guy, this agent in Minneapolis, that car was being driven towards him. Police officers get run over and dragged all the time. That car was driving towards him. Now, all the details of how the whole thing played out, these women, where they were, if they had been following ICE around all day, I don't know any of those details. What they said, what kind of interactions they had earlier with ICE, if they had any, why the one woman was outside of the vehicle and the other woman was in the vehicle and decided that she was going to, be told to stop and then throw it and drive towards that guy. Why did she do that? Why did she leave her wife behind? All of these things are just crazy. But that's what you get. Like, it's just chaotic. These people shouldn't be around. The politicians, the leaders of the city of Minneapolis, which would be Mayor Jacob Frey, should be telling the citizens to stay home. Stay away. All these citizens on X that I just played you, they have the common sense to say, I don't need to be out there. There's no reason for me to be out there. This woman who got shot, she had at least one child who doesn't have a mother anymore because she chose to be out there and obstruct law enforcement. So many other people get it. The vast majority of people get it. Why are you there? You shouldn't be there. You should have something else better to do. And if you don't, realize that being there is a obstruction and you can get hurt for doing that. You are obstructing law enforcement. You're making their job very hard. It's already hard enough. You're making it very hard. You're not doing anything good. You can't protect people from ICE, from law enforcement. You can't protect people from a warrant. If they have a warrant, they're going to be arrested. And in this case with ICE, they're likely going to be deported. Walter Hudson said it great, I think. You can't hide behind the fact that you disagree with this. I disagree with the fact that illegal aliens are being deported. Therefore, I am going to do X, Y, and Z. You can't hide behind the fact that I don't like it. Therefore, I'm going to do something about it. You cannot like it. You don't have to like it. You have to abide by it. You have to abide by the law and stop obstructing these ICE agents. They're not going away. Even though Mayor Jacob Frey got on television and told ICE to get the F out of Minneapolis, they're not going away. They're continuing. They probably brought more agents in because they realize that they're going to need more support. They're not going away. They have a plan. They have arrested, I looked it up. I wanted to see how many. They have arrested between 1,000 and 1,500 people since I guess this Operation Metro Surge, which is the big surge where they brought at least 2,000 federal agents in. They've arrested approximately 1,500 people, between 1,000 and 1,500 people in that. So it's been, 30 days. Of that, it's estimated that 300 to 450 have some sort of criminal record, right? Murder, rape, sexual assault of minors, robbery, domestic violence, assault, DUI. 300 to 400, 450 maybe, of violent, illegal immigrants they got off the streets in a month. And then they got more just plain illegal immigrants that they had detainers for. They've arrested them too. Just think about that for a second. 1,500 arrests and one incident that was bad enough that became a fatality, was a fatality. But you see physical altercations here and there, but 1,500 arrests, and how many of them went smoothly, even though people are following them around all the time. They're not going away. We want them here. I want them here. As a member of law enforcement, I want them here. I want them to do exactly the job that they were doing. They're here to do. All right, that's it for now. Thank you. I'm Steve Lamar.